Flawedcast, episode 76. Just the facts.
The most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. President Ronald Reagan.
Flawedcast. Flawedcast. Get in the arena.
Woo! America.
What's up, Will?
Good morning, Jason. How goes it?
Man, I'm having a problem with this microphone this morning.
You certainly are.
Bumping, kicking, rubbing.
Well, at least
I'm going to take it home and sleep with it tonight. I don't know.
Kicking, rubbing, each
You guys weren't introduced yet, so if you could just be quiet.
Yeah, speak of the devil.
No pun intended.
No
Oh,
pun
just kidding. You're not a devil, Buckeye. Hey, Johnny.
What's going on, fellas?
Here's Johnny.
And Stormin. Norman.
What up, dudes?
Good morning.
So, Will, what's going on, bro?
Not a whole...
Get us going here on this beautiful Saturday morning in Maui. I can't believe we've taken this all the way to Maui.
I know.
From where we started in little old East Side Cleveland.
East Side.
I mean, look at those
to Maui.
Seagulls out there and the dolphins.
Those aren't seagulls, bro.
Those are dolphins jumping.
Those are what are those birds called?
I'm looking at the
Those are albatross, man.
Albatross in Hawaii.
Winning.
Well, yes, I'm too busy.
Getting 18 in later, I know that.
This is going to be an interesting experiment of an episode. We have only a few things that we are going to purposely cover, but the rest of it's going to be a free-for-all because
Bill says
we're all frustrated.
It's like we've been
we're all constipated.
spiritually and politically backed up, and we need like an extra dose of Pepto-Bismol to get the things.
No, that's not Pepto-Bismol. It's X-Lax, bro.
Or X-Lax. I'm very regular, so I
X-Lax,
don't.
but make sure we get the one with the stool softener, please. That could hurt coming out.
All right.
Where can you find us, Bill?
You can find us anywhere podcasts are: Apple, Google, Spotify, Flawedcast, Flawedcast CLE. Subscribe on Rumble. Doing very well on Rumble. On YouTube, still getting notifications, but hey, we're some triggering SOBs. Flaweding, Rumble, and YouTube. Flaweding.com. Book is coming out June 1st. You can find us on the Project Mockingbird social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Doing very well on Gab, Parler, and MeWe. As our tradition,
Place your
Right hand,
over your
left heart.
and say with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
More God.
Yes. So we're going to just kind of discuss some current events. We're not giving you articles because why bother? People don't even care anymore. So,
Because this is not a fact-based society, as I said before, this is a feeling-based society. So today, I want to tell you how I feel.
yes. And before...
Fed the f*** up.
Well, go ahead, Jason. You brought up some interesting statistical anomalies, I'd say, this morning as we were discussing things, our preamble, if you will. But, everything that's happening this week has just been a lot to, let me just word it this way. I get this sick feeling sometimes because as I watch things happen, I'm like, yeah, I called that like a year ago. And I have people contact me like, how'd you know that was going to happen? How'd you know this or this or this? And it's like...
You didn't tell me you have a time machine, did you?
No, I do need a recharge of the 1.21 gigawatts to get that thing up and running, but...
This sucker's electrical, but I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity.
1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts! Great Scott! What the hell is a gigawatt?
I would travel back to 1972 and visit Pam Grier. No, you would.
Coffee came out in 1975, so I think that would be the prime time. Right after White Mama, Black Mama. But anyway,
Fiction can be fun.
Yes, they certainly can. So anyway, but this madness, this lunacy, this idiocracy that's befalling us is just at a fever pitch. And I've had conversations with the guys individually this week, and I thought, you know what? We're just going to talk about it. So,
Well, I have a few things I'd like to say.
preacher.
I feel that our media is a joke.
Correct.
They don't care about anyone or anything except trying to be the top, meaning whatever story sells. And what
Correct.
sells are idiots. They continue to go to idiots and push bullshit, give you half stories to
Correct.
fire you up. That's all it is. So our media in this country is a joke. I don't care.
Correct.
All of it. Every single little piece and ounce of it is. If you're listening to anything,
Propaganda machine.
totally. If you're listening to anything the media has, and you're like, "Oh yeah," you are an idiot. Straight up, you're an idiot. I will sit down face to face with you and tell you why you're an idiot. It's such crap. I'm sick of it, and I'm sick of no one taking accountability in this country. No one. No one wants to take it for themselves. No one wants to take it for their children.
Sorry, but it's a fact.
Just to kind of piggyback on what you were talking about before, about the police shooting statistics and stuff like that. If you research the statistics.
Are you talking about facts again?
Yeah, I know you were. I know we're all about feelings today, but I just want to. You got to talk about facts, so let me spit some.
No, it's great. I wasn't saying it about you. I'm just saying it's.
No, I know. There's around 800,000 police officers in this country. There's somewhere between 75 million and 90 million interactions between police officers and civilians every single year. Yet, annually, there's about an average of 1,000 fatal shootings. Out of 90 million interactions, out of those 1,000 shootings, about 225 of those people on average are black. About 25%. Out of that 225, they say roughly about somewhere between 20 and 25 are considered unarmed at the time. Then as the cases are researched and investigated, out of that average, roughly less than 10 are actually unarmed. The rest of them were trying to wrestle the police officer's gun. So out of 90 million interactions, you're talking a handful of legitimate unarmed shootings by police officers.
With black males.
With black males.
I mean, you're going to have the same numbers, by the way, with white males.
Yeah. They don't give you they don't.
You don't want to. They don't want to show those statistics.
But there are the year prior to George Floyd, there was a white man killed exactly the same way. You can look it up right now. His name's Tony something, and he was killed exactly the same way as George Floyd. But yet
he had a white officer hamstring him with a knee to the neck.
I don't remember what color the officer was.
You bring up a really valid point, and something that I know Tucker Carlson discussed the other night because he's a white supremacist.
Tony Tippos, yeah. He said, "You're gonna kill me." Dallas police body cam footage reveals the final minutes of Tony Tippos' life.
Yeah, I actually saw that.
For help more than 30 times as officers pinned his shoulders, knees, and neck on the ground in 2016.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes,
Look,
knees and toes.
It was a white officer, but see the picture?
Mm-hmm.
Same.
No, I saw the video.
Happened.
But you bring up a really good point. Like I said, Tucker Carlson was discussing this the other night. Ashley Babbitt, who was one of the Q-tards that stormed that had the most violent terrorist attack January 6th ever in the history of America, was shot by a black officer in the Capitol, and it was unprovoked. She was unarmed. There was, for all intents and purposes, they were trespassing. They were breaking the law. It's not a matter of a tit for tat kind of a thing. It's just a matter of if everyone is calling for equality of the law, quote unquote, then what distinguishes Ashley Babbitt, who had no criminal record, was a veteran who was at a protest, and things got heated, obviously, but what is the difference between this police officer who was black, who his name is being withheld and protected, versus we're talking about the lady in Brooklyn Heights or Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis, who, I don't know, maybe it is a mistake, maybe she did it on purpose, I don't know, but she was going to tase a guy, but she shot him. And I don't understand, if everyone's about equality, and this is what's important to capitalize on here, if everything is about equality, and this is the socialism fallacy, we want equal outcome for everyone, not equal process, not equal opportunity, equal outcome, then where is the justice for Ashley Babbitt? And why the police officer that shot the gentleman a couple days ago in Brooklyn Heights, or Brooklyn Center, excuse me, they put her name all over the media, the national media, and she had to go underground to hide because
in charge of murder.
Yeah.
Right, but see, it's a double standard, and until and this is where I find
there's a couple things that weren't the same. You asked what's the difference is, and the difference is this: you mentioned that Ashley Babbitt was unarmed. She had no warrants out for her arrest. She did not struggle with an actual police officer physically. She was not trying to escape from a police officer because she had a warrant out for her arrest. All those things were true in the Minnesota thing. So if you're a criminal and you're shot by police, it's unjustified. But if you're not a criminal and you're shot by police, it's justified.
Right.
Does that make any sense to you?
Well, and here's the thing. Honestly, it has to come to this. And I've been saying this. People just have to stand up and say, no, we are not. This is three of my best friends in the whole world. These guys aren't racist at all. And bringing these statistics and bringing these facts up isn't in a racist, malicious, venomous manner. It's to say, until we illuminate with the truth and until we bring to light equality, genuine equality, what Martin Luther King Jr. strived for, who now I guess is just people like, piss on his grave now or whatever. I don't know. I don't get it. He's one of my personal heroes. But until we can strive towards that equality, then everything's going to be skewed. It's going to be manipulated. But even more, until the American citizenry just says, no, enough, I'm not going to have my freedoms handed over any longer. It's going to continue to escalate. And it always does. That's all it ever does.
You ask what the difference is in between, and it's really simple. It's one word, 3 syllables, narrative. One serves the narrative. It is sexy. It's the sexy narrative, and one is counterintuitive to what the purpose, the ultimate narrative is, what it's driving towards. I mean, it's almost like evil business. It's simply evil business.
I think it's worse than that, and this is why I think that the media pushed this with Ashley Babbitt. Basically, they're saying, "Hey, she's got to be accountable for what she did."
Well, her and the other quote-unquote evil terrorist rioters who trespassed on the Capitol, most of them are still in prison.
They have to be accountable for what they did, right?
Right.
But that's only because, again, that's against what our government and our idiotic, fake media is pushing for. Now, you don't have to be accountable if you fit their narrative. You can do anything you want. You can riot in cities. You can burn things down. You can throw frozen water bottles at police officers. You can do anything you want. They're not going to go check the videos and try to arrest you. No. But you go against how they feel, and you're going to prison. Think about that, folks. That's exactly what's happening here. All right? It is so blatant. And there's so many blind people. Every time they put something out there for everyone to see over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, like they do with COVID, as soon as you turn on the TV, the first thing that you see is COVID, killing, dying.
Emergency code 187. Emergency code 187. Murder, death, kill. Murder, death, kill.
All this crazy stuff, right? How bad COVID is, double masks, triple masks, numbers are back up, get the vaccine, but you're still not vaccinated. That's all you see. That's all you see anywhere, right? Or you see white police officer kills black person. It's all you see everywhere. That's it. They don't want to show anything else. And there's no accountability. Well, no accountability at all. And I'm sick of it. This latest, and it's not even latest, it's old one that they just started caring about all of a sudden. This 13-year-old Hispanic male, I believe he's Hispanic, was shot and killed, single gunshot, by a police officer in Chicago. And police officer's ex-Marine. He's a veteran. And they want basically this police officer hung for what he did. To fry. And these are the things they don't want to tell you. Basically what they say, the first thing you hear is, I think Norm said it or John said it, police officer shoots a
unarmed 13-year-old man,
unarmed 13-year-old boy with his hands up. But when he turned around, the police officer shot him within a second on the body cam, right? They didn't give him time. But what they don't want to tell you is this, until you really start researching him, is, let's set the scene for you, 2:30 in the morning.
Shooting a gun in the street.
Well, hold on, we'll get to that part. 2:30 in the morning in Chicago, where there is more gun violence than any other city in the United States. They're responding to gunshots. That was the call. Okay, so they know there's a shooting. They're going to take on an active shooter as far as they're concerned. Oh, we don't say active shooter in this situation, do we?
No, of course not.
So they get there. They're chasing these two young men, a 21-year-old man and this 13-year-old boy. The body cam of the police officer very clearly shows that the kid is holding a pistol, a firearm, a semi-automatic. Oh my gosh. It was a Ruger 9mm. He's running from the police officers, and you see it in his hand. He comes to this opening in a privacy fence that's about 5 feet wide, and he abruptly stops, drops the gun behind the fence in all one motion, drops the gun behind the fence, turns and puts his hands up. Yeah, in a second, that police officer had to decide, is he turning his fire on me? Well
and also, and it is Chicago, which is there's more violence in Chicago in an average weekend than through the most of the other 48 states combined. So there's already a mind. So what I'm saying is that there's already a instinctual mindset. The adrenaline's already pumping, and most 13-year-old like your son is like almost as tall as I am.
There's no way he knew the kid was 13.
No, well, that's for sure. But this is no. You're right. Yeah. They don't know he's 13.
Yeah.
But this is what makes it worse, and this is what pisses me off. So now everyone's saying he was only 13. I can't believe you shot a 13-year-old. Da da da. Okay, so what was a 13-year-old doing, running around the streets of Chicago at 2:30 in the morning, firing guns, or at least holding a gun?
Maybe he was going to the same subway that Juicy Smollett was going to.
He was just trying to do his math homework, Jason. I mean,
I'm just saying, let's have some accountability.
His parents told me.
Why is this cop being crucified? This kid made a decision that put him in a position.
The kid's parents made maybe their lack of decision made it, because quite frankly,
take some accountability. Right. Take some freaking accountability.
But I have to be, just because of who I am, I have to be devil's advocate in this regards, because like as much as I support and I think there is a very, very logical and necessity to have a strong police force, we also have to be very careful, because the same police forces are being weaponized against people who are, I would say, of similar mindsets, that are more constitutionally minded, that are more civically minded, because as we've seen throughout all the riots, the legitimate riots that have happened in the last year and a half, that most of the police forces from these major cities stood down and encouraged the rioters, whereas like people who would we have to be fair.
I disagree.
Well, and that's fine, but that is a fact.
That's right.
Yes, but they took and swore an oath to the Constitution, and I'm telling you, but it all comes down to.
But don't call out the police officer for that.
I have to, because.
Okay, so then what do they do?
No, I'm just saying we have to.
They retired, which is what the good.
Yes, but they
retire. Well, what if you're 27 years old and you got 2 babies at home?
No, I understand it, but this is the larger narrative. No, so we're going back to what John said. This is the larger narrative. The larger point is this: this is all being manipulated and controlled by the people that are governing us.
No, I agree.
And that's who we need to
call out the police officers for those.
No, I will, because as we are individually accountable for our own decisions, they are also, right? So if that's
fine. They're in a lose scenario.
Well, no, absolutely. I don't envy them at all.
As a business owner and having 5 young children, I don't do things that I would do if I didn't have those responsibilities. But I have personal responsibilities.
Stupid stuff like that.
That's right.
Right.
I have personal responsibilities. I don't go out and I have this podcast with you guys and I say what I feel, but I don't go out and argue with people or say this or say that publicly, because I can't afford to be crucified because I don't believe what you believe. Yeah. So I've just got to stay status quo, at least for now. And I'm saying that's all a lot of these police officers have done. Right. The ones that can, the ones that have the ability, sort of like you, Bill, to say it, they did, and that's great. But there's a lot that don't. No, and need that job.
But I agree. I am not arguing with you for argument's sake. I'm just saying, if we're going to be fair and balanced, right? If we are going to be that, then we have to say and mention these things. And I understand it creases me. Believe me, I'm on your side. But the larger point that we need to stick to and that we need to expose is that the powers that be, the people that are controlling them, that are giving these orders, they are ultimately accountable to us as we the people. However, if we the people are acquiescing and not holding these individuals accountable, whether it be on a local, state, or federal level, then that ultimately is on us. And that's why I am who I am. But I don't disagree. And this is a topic that we could go on, 4 of us agree. But I look at other things like, in conjunction with that, the crisis at the border. Like, we have hundreds of thousands of people just in this year alone. Like, their estimates, almost 1 million people a month, they're saying, are coming over the border. And COVID, killer COVID, get your 18 vaccines, right? You get these people just walking right in with COVID tests, and they're getting plane tickets to go wherever they want to. They're being put up in these hotel rooms. The sex trafficking is off the charts. The child, yes. But it goes back to, we are allowing this to happen. We got terrorism on our northern border, where a pastor who is multiple pastors, but the one pastor, he was a Polish immigrant, his church is being SWAT teamed because they aren't going to comply with the mask mandate, right?
Well, that's after he spent over a month in prison.
Well, exactly. My larger point is, there's a lot going on, and it's a lot. It is overwhelming, right? in order to be focused, in order to be attentive and to put our energy in the proper place, we have to start to look at this power structure that we allow to get away. So I don't blame the individual police officer, although we are all held accountable to our actions. It's that city official giving the order. It's that governor, it's that senator, it's that congressman, it's that...
Well, and this is where, this is one of the reasons that we have our podcast, is to get information out there that you can't see on regular media, of course. And there are a lot of other podcasts, a lot of newsworthy shows that you can still watch and listen to try to get what's really happening out there. But the problem is
they're being blocked. They're being censored.
They're being blocked. They're being censored. As long as we have the government owning, listen, I'll say it for the 900th time. What happened in Germany in the 30s is happening right now. Right now in not just the United States, but in other countries.
On a global scale, yeah.
On a global scale.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
No, and you're 100% right. But in something else that we need to observe, the media companies that you're talking about, the 6 major companies, 4 of them are owned by China. China now has the most expansive and mighty navy in the world, and they're all throughout the Pacific Ocean, walking around like the guy with the big... in gym class, and guys know what we're talking about. But, you know, we
that guy.
I'm sorry. So we got the president of Ukraine saying that there is no end but conflict with Russia. You know, we got Biden, the installed president
Guy.
who is like trying to pick a fight. When one day he's picking a fight with Putin, the next day he's like licking his boot heels, right? But my response is that these are all political issues. They do come and they do go. What is more grievous to me, and I know, and I'm sorry, not really, but I'm sorry to offend and the people get butthurt, but I put the lion's share of the responsibility at the feet of the leadership of the church, the vanguard of the spiritual community in this country. I have to. And I know that's an uncomfortable position to be in, and I know those are things that may hurt people's feelings, but I just think the issues that we're talking about, even though they are in the political sphere and they're in the economical sphere and they're this, and this, it ultimately, you can't solve spiritual issues with political devices.
I will say one caveat to that. When we were talking about the spiritual failure, but that started a long, I mean,
sure.
It's not just, obviously we have viewpoints on certain things when it comes to COVID related to mask and all that, and we all have our own opinions, and that's regardless or irregardless, as my old man would like to say. The moral failure in the greater moral failure from our spiritual leadership happened when we let abortion run rampant, when we let prayer get kicked out of schools. That's, to me, that's what.
But it's like a snowball.
It's snowball effect.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what
we can disagree on semantics on and that's
right.
Regardless. I mean, we can disagree on what is a moral failure in now and what's going on, because I know we don't share.
Right. No, and that's fine. But we do have a similar, like we've been talking about this Lil Nas X situation.
Yes.
And you got half the church split saying it's okay that this guy is promoting pedophilia, he's promoting Luciferianism, he's promoting this global agenda because he was offended. And the other half of the church
is saying,
you know,
there are some absolutes.
Right.
Moral failures.
But when you look at this, what you're talking about, John, I agree with you. It's not just a church that it's been going on for a long time. We didn't get here overnight.
No.
And we're not leaving here overnight.
But
we need to start figuring out how to get the hell out of here. And it's not going to be easy.
You know, freedom is never given. Freedom is always taken, right? At Bunker Hill, at Lexington, at Concord, freedom was taken. You have to take freedom back from tyrannical people because they're not going to give it back. And that's the one thing I keep telling people, like with the lockdowns, the quote unquote lockdowns, I honestly, my personal belief is that it was intended to kneecap the middle class. It was intended to break the back of people who own businesses. The backbone of the American economy is small business owners.
Well, who they didn't kill with the lockdown, they're killing now with the unemployment bonuses.
Yeah.
I was listening to radio the whole way here, and they had business owner after business owner call in. What they were calling about was to talk about their struggle to find people. Okay, there is this guy who he does pools, right, and not above ground. He does in-ground pools,
like swimming pools.
Yeah.
Okay.
And fountains and all sorts of stuff. He says right now, he goes, "There's more work out there right now than I've ever had, and I could be blowing it up and becoming a millionaire right now. But I cannot find an employee to save my life, and I'm offering twice of what I ever offered for workers. There was local restaurant owner for big restaurants.
We were just at breakfast yesterday, our favorite breakfast joint, and the lady who runs it, she's like, I've been working by myself 6 of the 7 days a week because she cannot find waitresses. So I don't know.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, they're doing it on purpose. Man.
Well, that's it, Norm. You're exactly right, Norm. But we're all bringing valid points. I don't disagree with anything, but I think our listeners are going to understand and experience and relate and have similar viewpoints. Let's spend the rest of the time. What are things that we can do? I'm being honest. Like, what are things that we can do we know the problem, but it's the solution where the shortcomings are.
By a news network?
Yeah.
Well,
here's one that we talk a lot about individual responsibility. You know, with all this stuff going on, I've told my children who happen to be white, but I tell them, go bask in your white privilege and enjoy the sunshine and rainbows. No. But I've told my kids, especially my son, listen, if you ever get pulled over, you know, and I tell them how to respond with respect and admiration and be, you know, but listen, if my kid was on the internet flashing money, flashing guns with a blunt in his mouth, drinking Hennessy, and he was involved in drugs, and he had a warrant for his arrest, and he pointed a gun at a woman and stole $800 from her, and then he ends up resisting arrest and getting shot by a woman who accidentally pulled her gun instead of a taser. Yeah, should that be looked into? What the heck happened? Why did you shoot a gun instead of a taser? She was wrong. She made a terrible mistake. But ultimately, I would not be on TV saying, oh, my poor son, he was innocent and he was just a baby. He didn't do anything wrong. No, I would say...
Accountability.
Yeah, I would honestly say, and look me in the eye, I would honestly say my son is responsible for that. He would have not got shot if he wouldn't have resisted arrest. He would have not got shot if he wouldn't have been involved in that lifestyle. He would have not got shot if he wouldn't have robbed a woman at gunpoint and had a warrant for his arrest. It's his fault.
And that's why, you know, the case in Chicago that Jason brought up with a 13-year-old kid, he has...
If you watch the video, it looks like he's turning around with a gun. I mean, it looks like he's turning around
they'll show you in slow-mo, of course.
Yeah.
They actually calculated 0.8 seconds. It wasn't even a full second. That almost impossible for them to break down the bit frame or however they do that to get the motion where it actually turns around. I'm sorry. If let's change the scenario. I'm at home. I don't know what's going on. But there's someone out in the neighborhood. There's running around. There's something going on. And I'm at
gunshots.
There's zero chance that I'm not firing my weapon if I'm in that scenario. Because there's impossible.
Dude, what's he supposed to wait till he gets shot first?
Yeah.
He's chasing an armed suspect.
And I'm really tired of hearing the word 13-year-old because it's such a forced narrative. The 13-year-old, they keep saying that for emphasis. Who gives?
He know the kid was 13.
He's an assailant. Let's be honest. He's a criminal. He's guilty of a crime. 13 doesn't matter. 13's irrelevant.
I agree.
I hate that because it's clearly
it's irrelevant unless you're looking at the parents saying, "Why is your 13-year-old running around the streets at 2:30 in the morning with a handgun?"
That's
you know, I was raised around weapons, around guns, and I was taught respect, and I was taught from my old man, like, if you look at that or touch it without me being around or properly handling it, you're going to get... But you're right. We need to stop blaming. And Norm, your episode from last week, if you haven't listened to Norm's testimony, you got to Discipline Equals Freedom, number 75. It's been out a day already, and it's
something almost like you took accountability for your own actions.
Well, and it wasn't until he did that his life began to drastically change for the better, right? So
where do we stop with the blame the other guy or blame the situation or blame it's not the guy's fault, it's the way? Where does it stop? Because look, this scenario, for instance, and I know we've seen memes on Facebook about like people getting arrested because your neighbor drove his car drunk, so we're taking your car, which is kind of a good analogy based on the gun thing right now. What about like the pervert who's looking at child pornography? When do they get to start blaming the computer?
Well, I'm just throwing it when you look at the size of my stomach, if I have a heart attack, you better believe I'm suing McDonald's. It's their fault that I eat that food.
Well, it goes back to the woman who sued McDonald's years ago because of the hot coffee. And she won millions of dollars. You didn't know that coffee in your cup was hot, you idiot? You know
I think we just need to remove all warning labels and let evolution take its course.
Absolutely. But it's like it used to.
But you get my analogy with the computer thing.
Absolutely.
That's how bad, that's how stupid it's getting.
Well, and here's the dangerous thing, and we talked about this. People with a progressive mindset, they have an instinct for self-destruction. So I don't buy in the social justice warrior BS for the simple fact that it's an arbitrary term. There is no definition of what social justice is, right? So ultimately, Nora could say something that, like, hey, I really like chocolate donuts. Well, who's to say that there isn't a incident in a week and chocolate donuts are now a bad thing to say, and we go back and now Norm, who is just simply making a statement, is now guilty of whatever. So what I'm saying is that there's a self-destructive, there's this lack of self-preservation instinct in people.
15 years from now. Well, 15 years
you're sure? Well, if that's that long.
Look at, what is this cancel culture with? What was the Baby It's Cold Outside? When was that song made? In the 60s?
That was in the 50s, I think.
Right? Go back 70 years to a song. I mean, come on, have some context. I'm just sick of it, man.
But that's the thing. It's
got on stage with a frickin' 2 other women and have a makeout session on the Grammys or whatever that was. And
I want to say this, and please do not edit this, Bill. If you're triggered by what we're saying, like you are like, F these guys, they're wrong, you're an idiot. You're the problem, okay? So if you feel that way right now, if you're listening to me and you feel that way, you're a freaking idiot. You are the problem.
I would say even me bringing up the counterpoint about the police, like I'm probably the most classically liberally minded guy here. And that's not a disrespect to you guys because I was,
like it.
Well, take it as you will. But I just believe in fairness, and I honestly believe in hating everybody equally. And if that...
That's what Jesus said.
Equal opportunity lender.
Right. The larger point is that this mindset is corrosive. It's destructive. It's like a serpent that is swallowing its tail. There is no end to it. And for those that are caught in this cycle of not doing their due diligence to understand the basic information that we're sharing, because this is a very surface level examination of these recent events. I mean, we're not, like Jason was talking about FBI statistics, and we were breaking down things before we went on. And if you believe the FBI statistics and you look at what they state, they completely disprove all of these narratives that are being sold to...
We are not a factual society. Would you stop talking about statistics? People don't care that it's actual facts.
I know, and that
makes me sick. Again, when you think feelings are correct and facts are false, you're an idiot.
Here's your sign.
This is just part of the narrative too. And I think about like the Capitol, whatever you want to call it.
I call it a protest, but whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And the police officer who was killed,
the massacre.
Nobody wants to talk about this.
The guy who died of a heart attack.
Seriously died. What was it? 2 of a heart attack and 1 from suicide, or something like that. Yeah. Let's not look into that issue. But anyways, the one who was killed during the riot, the police officer was killed, and they put the funeral in the rotunda of the Capitol.
Oh yeah.
People could walk by and see him, and they put this poor man on display to fit their freaking
narrative. They just did it for a second time.
But what about
this week?
Listen, what about the police officers who were shot, black, white, and Hispanic, who were shot and murdered mercilessly during the BLM riots over the summer by BLM rioters?
I agree.
Nobody put them in the frickin' rotunda.
There's been 2 Capitol police officers this year get that type of funeral. One just happened this week for another
God
one.
Bless them. I'm sorry they lost their, they were doing their duty. They lost their life.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I'm glad, but they're not honoring them to honor them.
No.
They're putting them on display
100%.
to fit their narrative.
Well, it's the same thing with George Floyd. Like right now, while this comes out, this is the weekend before the George Floyd case is going to come out. Whatever happens, I think we need to brace ourselves for a series of catastrophic rioting, looting, violence, either way. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think that the expected outcome is going to happen. But, at some point, when do we realize that, with all due respect, that this man was high on fentanyl, he was going to die because, honestly, no matter what would have happened, he had 90% blockage of his heart. His drug dealer won't even testify because he would incriminate himself. There's just so much going on, but,
let's, again, don't forget, this is a person who continually put themselves in harm's way with police officers by breaking the law, going to prison, holding a woman at gunpoint with the gun to her stomach, to her fetus, okay? We're talking about a person who, just like this other shooting in Minnesota, when you continually put yourself in these positions and steal, rob, pass off counterfeit money, do drugs, hang out with drug dealers, if that's your lifestyle, take some accountability. No one deserves to die, like to be killed, of course. So, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is this. Don't act like St. Floyd here.
Yeah, bottom line is you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
That's right.
Right.
Eventually that lifestyle is going to catch up with you. Whether it's by the hand of another criminal or by the hand of police officers, if you're breaking the law and doing criminal... I could have been shot by police. You know, I didn't rob anybody at gunpoint, but I mean, I've been in drunken stupors and did stupid things and did, you know, things that I shouldn't have. I could have been in a situation where an officer in the dark, or I thought I had a gun or something stupid, but if that would have happened, that would have been my fault. I would have been in a situation I shouldn't have been in.
At some point in time, we will all stand before the Almighty, the Creator,
Right.
and we won't be able to pass our dirt off on somebody else at that point. At some point in time, you will reap what you sow.
That's one of the dangers of this lie.
Well, to quote St. Eastwood in Unforgiven, we all got it coming to us, kid. So, all right, with that being said, final thoughts.
Here's my final thought. I am really glad that it wasn't my responsibility to be Jesus, because if I knew what was going to happen, I guarantee you I would not have died for this. I'm just being honest. There's no way. I'm so grateful to have a Savior who sees the bigger picture, because there's no way that... I don't know. I'm just being honest. Sorry, that's my glass half full.
Touche.
Man, that was not a glass half full.
Well, I'm triggered.
It's actually
Johnny's triggered. We got...
actually a pretty good final thought. If I was Jesus, I wouldn't have died for us. I mean, I think that was a pretty neat final thought. And I would say my final thought is, come quickly, Lord.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to add to my more God.
We need a t-shirt that says
Now
more
we're going to
God.
have two of them. More God, more accountability. Let me rephrase that. More God, more personal accountability.
Yeah.
Look in the mirror. Sorry, I'm seriously, I'm
No, I know.
angry.
Look in the freaking mirror.
Look in the freaking mirror.
Sorry, guys, I fudged up.
I'm seriously, I'm angry. I'm angry that
I'm mad too.
that everyone wants to blame everyone else.
That's what participation trophies have bought us.
No, for sure. You go to college, you come out, you think you deserve to make $100,000 a year. Okay? You bitch and moan because you're in debt. You knew you were going into debt. You knew you were going into debt.
I think loan forgiveness for student loans is just the height of laziness, hypocrisy, and just redundancy and uselessness for government.
It's just
It wasn't why
rely on
government was
more.
created.
So when it comes,
It's only gonna. That's you talk about helping the wealthy. That's only gonna help the wealthy because they're only gonna pay off debts for people that paid for Ivy League, schools and things like that. But I want to say something. John brought up a good point. You know, standing before God, we're all gonna have personal and individual accountability when we stand before Jesus Christ when we leave this earth. And therein lies the danger of this, because in order to come to repentance and bow a knee before God and repent of your sin, you have to recognize the fact that you're a sinner. But in today's world, in today's America, it's not your fault. Blame the other guy.
Yeah.
And you can never come to repentance by blaming somebody else for your mistakes.
not my fault.
Yeah, no, I mean, it took the criminal. There was two criminals that hung by Jesus when he died. It took the one who said, I screwed up, please forgive me. Jesus said, today you will be with me in paradise. The other guy was unwilling to relent that it was still somebody else's fault. And I know that this is not sexy, but we know that he didn't end up in paradise.
Let me tell you something about life for those of you who don't know. It's not easy. You're not going to get everything you want. How you end up is based on what you've done. And if you get a curveball or dealt a shitty hand, welcome with everyone else in the world. Everyone's got their story, man. Some are worse than others, I get it. But life's hard. It's not easy, and it's certainly 100% not fair. There's no such thing. No such thing. We can all sit here and talk about how unfair life's been to us, right? And this all comes down to Norm last week. You know, he said that that's what fueled his problem, was the unfairness. Your parents, divorce, cancer, right? That would fuel it, because that gave him an excuse until he took accountability and said, no, man, it's up to me to make the kind of life that I want. And people, everyone has it. Trust me. I'm not saying it's easy. Go talk to someone, but quit blaming people. Quit. It just takes... Look in the mirror and say, if you want to change, look in the mirror and change. If you don't want your life to be a certain way, then change it like the right way, not robbing, shooting, killing, maiming. I don't know, man. I'm just so sick of people just thinking that every time they do something, it's someone else's fault.
All right, I'm going to put an end on that and thank each and every one of you for listening. Please make sure you share, subscribe. We can be heard anywhere. Podcasts are Flawedcast Daily. We are on Apple, Spotify, Google Play. Subscribe on Rumble. Subscribe on YouTube. Flawed Inc. Our website's flawedinc.com. See my daily Flawed vlogs there. Book, Smith's Heart of Man Repair Manual, June 1st. It's coming. And we're on the Project Mockingbird social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Parlor, Gab, MeWe, Flawed Inc. And I don't know. I guess with that...
More God! More personal accountability, people!
Deuces. look lost, bro. And then the other crazy thing is the really good powerlifters, they have one lift that they're like unbelievable at. Like it could be squat. They can squat more than like anyone, or they can bench more than anyone, but not on all 3 lifts. No one really has all 3 lifts. Very rare.
Lou Ferrigno did.
No, Lou Ferrigno wasn't a powerlifter. He was a bodybuilder.
I don't understand how movies are ranked in Normland.
I don't understand how they're ranked anywhere, because you'll tell me, like, this was the worst movie, and I'll go say I fucking love it. Or you'll say that movie's awesome, and I'll go see it, and I'm like, what? And then you'll say there's a great movie, and I agree. So... But you knew what you were getting into when you married the woman. She had baggage.
The most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Ronald Reagan.
Whoa, you can't be taking my opening line shit.
Hey, man.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Did you like your Beetlejuice?
I don't like that movie at all.
What's wrong with Beetlejuice?
I don't like movies about ghosts and paranormal activity. I just don't.
I don't
It's
either.
really lighthearted.
I don't even think of it that way. What about Casper the Friendly Ghost?
No, I feel the same way about it. Wait, is it okay if I have a crush on Candace Owens? I mean,
Yes, every time we bring her name up,
Yeah,
you light
yeah.
up, and you light up like a Christmas tree.
At least she's a hot woman from this generation.
Right.
I mean... I wouldn't be surprised if China's the one pushing the gun control thing.
well, yeah, of course. Well, who was Emperor? What's his during World War II when he's like, the reason?
I think that was his actual name.
Yeah.
I think it was We Too Low.
Sorry, a big cough.
Hairball. Had to get it out. There's a guy named Tony, I can't remember his last
Soprano?
name. No,
Tiger.
I know you guys are going to say something stupid. No.
That's what we do.